Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly game master today, because today we are carrying on with our ongoing campaign, playing Paizo Publishing's a very cool Pathfinder 2nd Edition fantasy RPG. Playing in my own custom setting of the Spires of Paridar. This is a Coalpunk city of occult conspiracy, Dickensian class disparity, and industrial progress. And with me tonight to play part 2 of our mystery, the Endless Odyssey, are the stars of the Spires of Paridar campaign. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. I want you to tell us who you are and who you're playing. First up is James.
Oh, then I am Sally Dumaire, the glow-in-the-dark aquatic debutante of Paridar, who's a good-spirited type who really wants to bring something to improve these dry folks.
Nice. Next up is Ingolf.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, Ingolf, you're muted or you're very, very quiet.
Yes, that's the problem. My sound. Wait a minute.
Oh, sure. Okay, I can hear you very, very faintly here.
Maybe you could just switch to Darren.
Sure. Let's do Darren. So next up is Darren.
Okay, yeah, Darren, I'm playing Dr. Adam Ersprung, a second-level inventor with his trusty sidekick, Igor.
Nice. And Ingolf, how is the audio challenge going? Oh, now we can't hear you at all.
Oh, so.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. So.
But you're very, very
I'm
quiet. I think your mic is either it's picking up from some other mic other than the normal one. Before we went live, I could hear you okay.
Yeah. I'm just. I will check. Sorry. It's okay now.
We're getting a lot of like reverb.
Ah, shit. Sorry. And this is maybe more okay.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, so let's stick with it. So yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just the moment you called my name, it switched the microphone. I could see it, and then.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Basil Rathbone, who is a Izoki. They call themselves not red folk, but other people call them red folk, and he's an investigator.
Nice. So, guys, we kicked off this most recent mystery last time. And what happened last time, guys? Where do we find our heroes in the winding streets of Paridar today? Let me see if I can... go ahead.
I believe we're still at the seance or the building. As far as I'm aware, we haven't actually left yet. The last session... we attended the party, and the main event of the party was the seance performed by Augustus Thorngrove.
Yes.
And he's is he the founder of the Order of the Endless Odyssey?
He is, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few sort of rumours and issues surrounding this this Odyssey order. A number of ladies have become infatuated with this Augustus, and I think 2 of them, is it Cassandra and Beatrice? Is it Beatrice have actually gone missing? Have they?
They have thrown in with him. They have Cassandra and Beatrice have thrown in with him. There was another young woman who Vesta King, who they say rumors say ended up in a sanatorium.
Oh, okay.
As a result of the things. But yes, Cassandra and Beatrice were 2 members of his coven that performed the seance or the accessing of past lives, that the ritual.
And do they become one of his group once they've been like the main sort of, not target, but the main person of the seance? Do they sort of automatically join his sort of coven?
It seems as if there are not everyone he's a fairly new thing. This whole his appearance suddenly on the social scene, as it were, was kind of from nowhere, and where so he has not been around all that long, but he has at the very least impressed someone in the Coulson head family enough to give over control over Stoneburn Manor, a kind of not provincial, but like an estate on the outskirts of Paridar for him, control of him and the Coven. The growing number of people who are involved with it, they seem to all be, both Cassandra and Beatrice, both were hosts of a similar party and both had a similar experience, although you have not heard what happened to Vesta King, at least directly, but the rumor is that the reason she has not been seen is because she has been sent to a sanatorium.
Okay. And then some other events. Sally met up with the Morris Watson of the College of the Divination.
Yep. Who's
also looking for the captain that we've been sort of long term looking for, Captain Hunter.
Yeah. Ms. Dumer, do you remember what Mr. Watson Foles or Professor Watson Foles' connection to the Harpy, Captain Hunter's boat, was?
Now I'm having a nightmare at this point.
So he, as a refresher, he was childhood friends, as was your new... let's see here, where is he? Sir Archibald Morgan, another new friend, or at least companion. Archibald Morgan, Morris Watson Fole were childhood friends of Dr. Where is he?
The missing doctor.
Yes, the missing doctor, whose name, a second here, I can get you. It is Dr. I was looking at my notes before. I apparently did not remember anything from my notes, but I looked. His name was Dr. Virgil Moore. Virgil Moore was the noble who kind of fell on hard times and hired on with the crew of the Harpy, and then was one of the crew that went missing. One of the 7 who have either gone missing or have died since their return from their last voyage. Morris had been investigating as well. He was a professor, a junior lecturer at the Cullington University as part of the School of Divination, or the College of Divination, I should say. And he heard that you had been investigating Captain Hunter's disappearance as well, too. And he was the one who suggested yet another task that may be something you can earn some funds for and help out another person of influence. You remember what that was?
Refresh me again. It's drinking too much salt water.
Yeah, clearly. Well, I mean, you were clearly swooning with the kind manners of Sir Archibald. What he had suggested is that both the Brancaster and Ivywood families would likely be very interested in knowing, like, how the hell did their daughters, end up in here, and what can be done about that. He suggested that if you were interested, you could meet over lunch, and he could provide an introduction to Mr. Ivywood.
Okie dokie.
What else? Sorry, Darren, I interrupted your summary there.
No, that's cool. So the only other things that I can remember were myself. I was having problems with growing the plants needed to try and sort of replicate this serum due to this strange white blossoms that keeps like destroying the batches of plants I was trying to grow. And Basil and Hannibal, they saw a strange character at this seance that was, almost invisible to everyone else, it seemed.
Yeah.
And seemed to, from their description, seemed to be connected to the seance and the weird things that were going on. But we haven't got to the bottom of what that was about yet, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was we also had a discussion with the Dr. Green, or Elizabeth Green, from the 9th Medical Corps,
Yeah.
who was talking about the destroyed shipment of serum. And I wanted to do something about that before I forget, but we'll do that when we start.
And I think there was also where you that solved a mystery that we started the session with was when Ducard went to Hannibal, had gone to the grave of Clovis Potter, or the grave he had paid for Clovis Potter, the Ghoul Father. And there was the indication that there was a broken vial that you discovered as being containing that vampiric serum. So a lot happened last time. So we are, however, we ended on a bit of a quasi cliffhanger with Basil taking some bold action here. Ingolf, do you remember what Basil was doing?
I wanted to sneak in, so it seems like they packed basically their stuff back together and were going somewhere. Maybe it's like a circus, they're moving the equipment around. And I wanted to sneak in and have a look at it.
Okay. So we'll do it this way. Let's see here. Let me grab my DM screen, or GM screen, I guess, in this game. Let's see. So Sally and Dr. Earthsprung, I think, are deeper. You've rejoined the party, and if you're not Sally, I believe you were still being escorted by our. He was calling him. Morris was calling him Archie, but Sir Archibald, and Professor Morris Watson Full had rejoined the party after arranging to meet you for lunch. But let's have Basil. You guys are second level, right?
Yep.
Okay. Why don't you... first off, everyone gets a hero point, and I'm making a note of the time, and a half hour you'll get another one. So everyone starts off with one hero point. Basil, would you kindly give us a stealth check? There we go. All right. Now, Basil, as a refresher too, you do have that class ability to be able to have several ongoing investigations. What are your current investigations? Oh, I think we've lost you again, Ingolf. At least I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear anything.
So I'm sorry. So one was that I wanted still to find out anything related to the missing of our captain. This was the original task, and I think the new task is maybe find out anything about what Augustus Thorngrave is up to with his science stuff.
Okay.
So I think maybe it's a gigantic fraud.
That reminds me, there was something, speaking of science, there was something that Dr. Earthsprung noticed as well, too. There was the white blossoms of Paridar had been scattered across the table, and then they had been almost reduced to a completely lifeless and brittle state, like the driest of autumn leaves crumbling away at the gentlest touch after his ritual. So Basil, tell us how you were planning on kind of getting into that room. We left with the members of the coven sort of closing off the doors to that big coven room. Basil was staring at it, his little whiskers twitching. How do we think that Basil is going to try and find his way in there?
I think maybe I just moved something within the door so it couldn't close properly, and they maybe haven't noticed, so I can just sneak in behind them, and because I'm very small, I can maybe hide behind some covers.
Sure. So I think what we see then is, this person's about to close the door, and we sort of see like the very, very big close-up of the doors closing themselves, and as it's about to latch together, we see this little, furred hand kind of go in, and you push a piece of the invitation, one of those invitation cards on that hard cardstock, right between the things so the door doesn't quite latch the whole way. You then put your other hand up to make sure it doesn't open up. You carefully listen to hear people making their way away from the door, and then quickly the door is open, your little tail follows you in, and you close behind you without it making a single sound. You quickly make your way over. One of the advantages of these types of big, big luxurious sort of salon type rooms in the Rich of Paridar, is that they're full of, they have to have all these different things on display that provide ample opportunities for a intrepid ratfolk or Yasaki to find places to hide. And that's exactly, you scamper over and you get yourself in a position. Where are you picturing yourself in this big room? As a reminder, there's a big, almost like a boardroom table type thing, and right in the middle, big, heavy wood stained, and then there's a big crystal ball in the center of the table, big wingback chairs around each of the sides, but everything else in here, apart from the big bookcases and the little alcoves that used to hold like statues or vases or curios taken from around the world, the rest of the room was open to accommodate the people coming in to see it. So if you're going to find a place to hide or view, it's probably going to be somewhere around the edges. Are you thinking of kind of staying on the ground? Are you trying to scamper up somewhere to get perspective?
No, I would say I stay on the ground because that's more safe and I don't have to climb. That's an important issue here.
Okay.
And then maybe there's some kind of curtain or some niche in a cupboard or so where I could fit in. I mean, I'm rather small.
Agree. Yep. Okay. So you get yourself over, and there is an aged, a big vase that clearly seems, from the markings on it and the designs, it depicts some kind of like reptilian humanoid creature. It's got to be from some other place in the world. But we see once again if the camera pans down, the door is slowly closing. We see the tail kind of go into the door, and you close it, and your little beady eyes are poking out on the tiny little gap at the top of them. What you can see is that the members of the Coven are really just, without speaking a word, they are each packing up all the components. It appears that he has these big steamer trunks that are rolled in by these assistants or by other members of the Coven. Open up, and these women dressed in these long black, elaborate kind of full-necked gowns are just doing the heavy lifting, sometimes in pairs to store everything back. It appears from the trunks that you can see, these are designed to accommodate this equipment. It's something you would expect from like a touring magician or perhaps some other kind of someone putting on a accoutrement heavy show. Nothing suspicious apart from seeing them, they are all doing so silently, and they all have those unusual kind of crimson colored stones on. Nothing else strikes you as unusual. Would you give us, let's see here, would you give us a perception?
Yeah, okay.
Check here, please.
I was just trying to. So is this like a cult? Does it remind me like some cultish?
Yeah, and why don't you give us before you give us a perception, give us a society check, please. Let's give you, I think you're quite good at that. Oh, yeah. All right. So this is, sadly, your line of work doesn't necessarily hold exclusively to dealing with supernatural or magical threats or things like that, the way that, say, Sir Archibald's line of work does, where he's exclusively dealing with magical beasties and whatnot. But with the popularity of these types of secret societies and secret organizations and cults and like fad sort of mysticism, it's not unusual to find that people throw themselves in. The idle rich here in particular are finding, from one less generous way of explaining it is to find some way of giving meaning to an otherwise meaningless life of consumption. They're throwing themselves in to these kinds of bizarre things, and sometimes that is just, there's no magic or occult influence involved, but other times, particularly vampires are not unknown in Paridar, and that is most definitely one of the most dangerous things that can happen, is if someone starts collecting a following around them and they have the ability to have undue influence over them, then yeah. So to answer your question, because you did roll a crit on this, sometimes it's a cult that is around some kind of supernatural force. Sometimes it's a cult the way that cults can occur in our world without magic or any other kind of nonsense. And sometimes it's a bit of a in-between bit.
Yeah. But at least I would expect normally that, I don't know, some kind of ladies from society, they would chat a little bit after a very exciting performance like this.
Most definitely.
And those is completely silent, and they are more like very destined or very determined people. Like,
it's almost like they don't have any expression that you can read on them whatsoever. They seem to be doing so with the level of dispassion that, like, someone might say if you found someone sleepwalking and doing something.
Yeah, I see.
Perception. Would you give us a perception check,
yes,
please?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to see if your investigation would also your bonus would apply to this as well.
Yes. Okay. So.
Very nice as well too. So you remember last time, like Basil is conversant in a number of different exotic tongues. You may remember last time that you heard them speaking. They were chanting something. The Coven was, the Thorngrove was, and the host was as well. There's one point where at the end of, once they've kind of packed everything up, one of the women says something, and for a brief second you see a glow on her amulet, or the stone or necklace or whatever that's around her neck, and she says something once again in that same language. It's a weird, like, clicking, hissing kind of sound. And because you rolled, let me double check something here. Because you rolled well enough as well, you can see in that same spot that Hannibal said that he saw someone. He insisted he saw a woman. You see a very faint glint of red. And standing there, once again, holding that cat with a big red... the cat has a big red stone on its little collar. That glows, which reflects off of her eyes ever so subtly. And you can see that quickly dies down. And then after that very brief bit of words are spoken by one of the women, that one turns, and then they all start sort of escorting all of the steamer trunks. There's probably like 3 of them, one smaller one and then 2 larger ones, that are kind of carried or rolled out of the main room here. Deeper, okay. And you would know, like, because you're familiar with both the front and back of the house, it's being rolled back to sort of probably where the servants and, like, things are delivered to this lavish estate.
Okay. So then I think I would just sneak out and try to reconnect to the others.
Okay. You're easily able to do that. Now, tell me, do you take any precautions? Because you can't, like, once apart from that glow, all you can see is a shadow in that one corner. So if she was there before, you would have you did not know that she was there. The last time you saw her, she was on the other side of the room, if you may remember. And your eyes kind of linger there, just feeling like... Oh, and she brought a dog too. So you can't tell whether or not she is there still or whether she's gone.
Yeah, I think I would do my normal sneaky self and nothing else, because if she wanted to attack me, she probably would have done already.
Okay.
I think she would have. Yeah, she might have seen me anyway. So
sure. What is your stealth bonus?
6 or 7. Wait a minute. One of the other. 6.
6K. Okay. So you carefully, once the room is empty, carefully make your way. The door opens. Cautiously stick your head out. Your little whiskers twitch for a moment. And you scamper across, from one shadow to another, the front door to the door leading in here. You open it up. and close behind you. And the camera would hang on that patch of shadow where you saw the woman. Dr. Ersprung and Ms. Dumer, having seen that impressive display, knowing that you've got, both, I suppose, some tasks to address in the coming days, what do you think you're doing? The crowd seems to be, now that the show is over, there are members of the party that are starting to leave. Some people are throwing themselves at, Thorngrove. He's getting a great deal of attention from the society types. What do you guys think you would be doing in this crowd?
Well, I would be keen for one of our group to potentially trail the lady from this evening's seance to see if she seems to go to the Stoneburn Manor, or if she seems infatuated by this guy. I think we need to keep an eye on her to see what happens to her and see what effect that's had on her. But I don't see myself as the person to do that task.
I see just his top hat.
So I'll be looking to Sally or Basil to do that.
It's more me. Two ladies in black.
Yeah, so I don't know if for the next day or two we maybe need to keep a close eye on her to see if that gives us any evidence for what's going on or what's happening or what effect these seances are having on people. When it comes to myself, after Basil and Hannibal had not what I was worried about, the Dr. Green looking to get hold of this little vial that I've got, which had the serum in. I'm looking to destroy the evidence and get rid of that so that they can't use it against us or against Clover, as he seems more of an ally at the moment than an enemy. So I'll be looking to, once our group's back together, I'll be looking to get back to my doctor's surgery and destroy the evidence and such.
Okay.
You remember that we promised her to give her the vial?
Yeah, I'll sort that out.
So my idea was that we could just get rid of the, I don't know, residual magic or whatever, so the kind of fingerprints and whatever you could use to track, or just.
Yeah, I was just gonna go with the easy solution of I'll get thrown out in the trash and I'll just blame it on Cyrus and the help.
Not far from the truth with Cyrus.
No, but I'll let him in on the fact that, if told, this is what happened. But yeah, we'll get to that when I get back to the surgery, I guess. Okay.
And Ms. Dumer?
Well, I guess I will go ahead with the trailing. It seems a good fit for me, but of course I do have lunch engagements, so,
so
there may be a conflict there.
For what's happening at the party, at least, it's very easy to keep track of the hostess. She is the center of attention almost as much as Thorngrove is, and Thorngrove seems to be happy to sort of put that attention on her. I think you've seen this before. The reason that these people they want to sort of enjoy the reflected adulation, as it were, from hosting these things. Like they seek to get credit for not only that if they present someone that's impressive, they want credit for having been presented someone impressive, and that's exactly what this hostess is doing. Her husband is standing back and is quite pleased that with the attention and favor that she seems to be getting. And just from overhearing, I mean, you would not be, and maybe you recognize this as well, Ms. Dumer, from your past. Like, there's already others who are trying to line up Thorngrove to host something similar. He's clearly the fad of the season, which you were at one point.
And I'm sure the team must sort of work it as well to make sure that the lady gets some of the attention as well, because it's presumably in his interest to be
most definitely
a bit of a quid pro quo.
And the way she talks about the things she has seen over time too, like she's describing what she's seen, and some of it is past lives that she's had snippets of, and then she also even speaks of having traveled other worlds with boiling seas, worlds with stone drifting through the air, worlds where she is deep under the ocean.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. So it is it's really quite the experience. And Mr. Mayor, what is your perception bonus again?
It always amuses me to find it. It's my bonus is -1. Oh, well, my is a score of 3.
Score of 3, okay. Your perceptions are terrible. So the impression you get from is that she is being honest. Like, these are genuine reflections. She doesn't seem to be. She's definitely like repeating things, and definitely is happy to be the center of attention for this. But she's saying it in such a way that there is a level of sincerity to what she's saying that you sometimes don't see in these types of settings. It's almost if it wasn't for the whole evening being such a scandalous and shocking affair, you would feel that it may even reach the level of inappropriate. But it's definitely it is captivating the attention of many of the other sort of rich and bored set.
Okay, very good.
I think you also see Sally, because I believe you have. Or no, I think it's Basil who's met him before. Maybe all of you guys. There is another familiar face you see across the crowd.
Oh.
Addison Wright, Esquire. You guys may remember that he was the person who had hired you initially to investigate what happened to Eckhart.
Not on my esteemed list.
No. He sees you for a moment, and I think he is sort of judging how to react to you, because his last interaction with you was quite positive. They paid you a great deal of money, or he did at least. But you may also remember that your last dealings with the nephew, Thomas Eckhart, was not great. He left on a bit of a shouting, threatening basis, but they still paid you. He holds sort of your eyes for a moment. What reaction do you give him, Sally? Or do you give him any mind?
I'll go. I give him a quizzical look, a raised eyebrow.
Okay. He, seeing that you've given a non-hostile reaction, he sort of takes that as an opportunity to approach you. He walks up. Ms. Dumer, what do you make of these? First, you look lovely this evening. I trust you are keeping well.
Dapper yourself. Very well, very well. Thank you for asking. And you're looking very dapper yourself, Mr. Wright.
Very kind to say. And you can see again, like, there's that ring that he did not have on before. And he does seem to be, like, he was the private solicitor to the most wealthy man in Paridar, so he probably wasn't hurting for money before. He seems to be displaying even more wealth right now. More ostentatious than you saw him previously. This is
I'll comment. I see you've fallen on hard times, Mr. Wright.
There are less enviable positions than serving as corporate counsel to the most successful and daring industrial enterprise in Paridar. And he sort of grins in that, like, Cathay the Canary kind of way. He says, and you seem to have done quite well too. Very fetching clothes. Something really of this season. I commend you and your seamstress. Now,
I thank you, sir.
Miss Dumer, shall I expect to see you at more of these? I expect, and he sort of gestures towards Thorngrove, to be seeing more of him in the coming season.
Yes, he's quite the thing, isn't he? Quite the darling of the set.
Most definitely. What do you make of it? Is it trickery?
Well, some people seem to take it very earnestly and believe it all.
Indeed.
And who am I to judge, being on the outside?
Quite an interesting perspective. I, for myself, I'm glad my wife did not come, because I would be among them. And he gestures to the people, like the other society types who are sort of clamoring for Thorngrove's attention. To have host him. I hear he is a... How can I put it in a way you would understand? He is the equivalent of a social barnacle.
And you prefer to stay copper-bottomed, Mr. Wright?
I prefer to have my guests... I prefer my guests as I do my fish, gone after 3 days.
Ah, well, poor Mrs. Wright, then. She misses out on such a social occasion.
Indeed. I suppose I will have to ensure she doesn't attend any of these in future. You can see him sort of calculating like that, and you realize that they're like no small part of his attention is likely focused on what, he's opening his wife up to spending the money on, or at least that's what he presents. Tell me, are you still working? Or has your...
Yes.
I heard there was interest in the Paridar Detective Agency in acquiring your enterprise.
I think we're a small but specialist organisation. I'm not sure that we're a good fit.
As he said, always good to have a perspective from the outside, no?
Indeed. Sometimes a scalpel is required, and sometimes a sledgehammer, apparently.
Quite. His eyebrow sort of goes up as well. Mr. Mayor, I believe I've seen all that I need to see tonight, and I am quite fatigued by the spectacle. Good evening.
Good evening.
And he turns and, in a commanding kind of way, puts his drink on the plate of an unaware waiter who kind of has to readjust, not knowing that it was going to be there. He turns and walks his way out. So, anything else you guys wish to do in here? Basil, you've rejoined. You see, I think you walk up maybe in time to see Sally ending the conversation with Addison Wright, and Wright is making his way towards the exit. He doesn't. I don't think he sees you unless you want him to see you.
I think I don't even know him. Maybe I have met him at some occasion, but
I think, didn't you guys meet him when you were getting paid at the end of the Eckhart investigation?
Yeah, but I wasn't there for the Eckhart investigation.
Oh, you weren't at all. Okay, sorry. I forgot that you weren't. I thought you were there on. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah. It's no problem. Yeah. I would just like to talk to the others about this. So I have no business in talking to anyone else.
Okay.
Right now.
So, Dr. Ersprung, you've rejoined. There's been, you've been trying to be polite with people. You may recall one of the goals you had for this occasion was try and find more fundraising for your casualty, but you return to see Sally, and Basil has reappeared, and you realize you haven't seen Basil for the last couple of minutes.
Yeah. And I would, on the other hand, ask, has anyone seen Hannibal?
Not since the end of the seance. I know he was watching out for that strange character he mentioned. So I don't know if he's on the hunt for
I think
that
we can
strange
assume,
lady of the darkness.
Like our other campaigns too, I think like character absences we're just going to ignore. We don't need to come up with in fiction reasons for it, just because it'll end up getting messy, and then no. Like in fiction, it would make sense for your characters to try and figure out where he disappeared then after everything that happened. So it would
I just wanted to add some color and say. Well,
sure, absolutely, yeah. No, it's just something we haven't talked about in this game yet, and in spite of this one being a lot more like character focused and whatnot than some of the other games. We'll handle it the exact same way. If a character or player's not here, we just,
So maybe he's gone already, or found some quest to follow. Okay. So I think we should talk, but we should talk at home and not here, maybe.
Okay. There are a line of coaches waiting outside for the departing guests. So if you want to, the Paridar equivalent of a taxi stand or a cab stand, if you guys want to just depart now, you are certainly free to do so.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. It's all quite awkward here.
Okay. So with that, you guys all collect your coats and you head out, and they're, one of the, after a bit of a wait as some guests are piling into these, what do you call it, hired coaches, you get yourselves into your cab, and then it's off and into the snow-filled streets. You guys have privacy. What do you guys think?
Okay. I just I managed to get into the back area and saw where they packed all the stuff. So I think it's rather unusual. They have all these ladies do all the work. They are actually moving even the heavier stuff, and they seem like mind control to me. It's like the pendants they were control them. Very, very strange and very dangerous situation, I suppose.
And you think this is some sort of magic or trance?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a device, whether magical or whatever. I can't tell you, but I think they are controlled by this pendant they're wearing. And the lady, she seems to, at least her cat has a similar color pendant as well. And I don't know. It does not seem like a coincidence to me.
And this is that lady that I didn't see. This mysterious.
Yeah, the ones that had been. I think if Basil, I can't remember if are you trained in craft at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a craft check?
Okay.
And half an hour has passed, guys. Everyone gets a hero point.
Come on. So then I would like to roll with advantage.
Okay,
no, the wrong setting. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was just.
Yeah, you get the benefit of seeing how it goes first.
Yeah.
You want to roll a second time, or you want to take that?
No, that's actually quite good.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So Basil's got actually and tell me if I got this wrong, Ingolf, but I mean Basil strikes me as the type to take careful notes in a notepad or something like that as he goes. So I think what he holds up to you guys is a picture, a fairly like a kind of like a pencil sketch of what this woman looks like. And it's got I think with that roll he has done a good job of capturing the almost like either vacant or like dismissive expression on her face. And of course the cat with the stone on it. It isn't quite good enough to capture all the details like the markings on the stone or the collar or whatever else, but definitely if you held it up to someone who knew her, it is certainly something that they would recognize. So
I certainly noticed that during the seance that whatever that energy or it's like light beams that was sort of bouncing around the table has drained these blossoms of their essence and dried them out. So again, I don't know if that's some sort of weird magic or well, I'm not sure what it does, but it does seem to come from these necklaces or these sort of red stones that you're seeing around the necks of these members of the, well, whatever we're calling the cult. Yeah.
Definitely sounds dangerous and sinister.
And well,
I would just say, does any one of you know how this Wester King looks like?
Well,
I mean,
it's not a name that we've come across before.
There's a woman missing and there's a mysterious woman appearing, so there might be some connection there.
Yeah, though the woman has not been. So the woman you've got the picture of right now, that woman you've not. It's not clear whether she's ever been seen with Augustus Thorngrove. Yeah. But the Vesta, I think, Sally, why don't you give us a society check? Let's see how well you remember Vesta.
Society.
I think, do you have a feat that allows you to use diplomacy in place of society? Or am I thinking, I got those reversed?
Let me...
Don't remember if you've got...
check feat.
Well, one thing I'll mention as well, too, guys, is as we go on here, too, one of the neat things that you can do during the downtime in Pathfinder 2 is you can swap out feats. So if you got a feat that you find is not quite fitting or just isn't giving you the bang for the buck that you were hoping, you can spend downtime to just replace that with a different feat.
All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that must be someone else.
I might be confusing.
Somebody had that.
Okay.
Tragically not.
Then, what is... okay, so that's not a great
I'll use a hero point. Why not?
It sounds good.
Let's try that one again.
I have full faith in you, Ms. Dumer.
Yeah, diplomacy is definitely a better one.
Mm-hmm. Nat 1. Vesta, you... so I think the consequence here is that you do know her. So you're aware of who she is. Unfortunately, there was a bit of an incident at the King's. They hosted you as this most recent host hosted Thorngrove at one point, and there was an issue at the party that left you on somewhat tense terms with the Kings. So if you do want to follow up with the Kings directly, you certainly know them, but I think you're on a bit of a difficult footing with them.
Not in a good way.
Sorry?
But not in a good way.
Not in a good way. I'll leave it to you to think about what that might have been. But that's why we'll interpret that crit fail, is that it's going to be... It'll make... If you choose to follow up with the Kings directly, it'll make them in a worse starting position for leaving an impression than what they would have been. What may have been the case is that Mr. King, for instance, may have gotten a little over familiar with you and then had a first-hand demonstration of your martial arts prowess.
Yes, I now have a feat where I can stun people, and I suspect I did a critical there.
Nice. That's awesome. Oh, so you got key points now?
That's where I practiced it.
That is awesome. Is that the one? So does it give you stunning?
Stunning fist.
I think that's awesome, because I think that it counts as a focus spell, right? I think that's the way they model it in the game.
Oh, it's not a key thing, but it's a focus power of my. If I hit
nice.
with a flurry and score even one hit, then they have to succeed in a fortitude save or be stunned.
That's amazing. Awesome. Okay. So yes, he has. I think if you're okay with that being the sort of backstory, then that's the situation going in.
Yeah, he didn't pass his save.
No.
Sharp blow to some part of the body. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Dr. Earthsprung could give you the detailed explanation for how the nervous system and the pain response works, but Probably it's suffice to say that he didn't enjoy the interaction. So yes, you do know, and I think, but what in spite of that bad situation, you can tell Basil, this is not what Vesta King is a much younger woman than this.
But there was rumours that she may have been sort of held up. Is there an asylum or some sort of medical facility in the town, in the city?
Absolutely.
So we could potentially look into that. Is that something you'd be able to access, or is it a sort of locked up?
I think that
invitation only.
It is definitely something that you would need to have invitation only, but one of the things you could certainly arrange, you are on very close terms with one of the luminaries in the medical profession. That would be, of course, Dr. Raycroft. And because unsurprisingly, many of the inhabitants, let's give a name to this sanitarium as well too. And it's got to have a let's see, appropriate like Arkham Asylum type.
Yeah, so we could look into that and see if we could get to speak to this Vesta, if she is there, obviously. So that's something we could look into as well.
Okay. I'm going to steal the nomenclature. Things we'll call it Innsmouth Sanitarium. So, Innsmouth Sanitarium is where you know that throughout the post-war, many of the veterans unfortunately ended up, in that in the care of that facility. Those who could not be helped with other, with other sort of treatments and had the means to pay for being in the sanitarium, and did not just disappear into the streets or die. So that is one way of potentially gaining access.
Yep. So that would. And I was also discussing with Sally that maybe we want to keep a close eye on the person who was involved in tonight's seance. What was the name of the person who was?
Tonight's seance was. Let's see here.
The host.
The hostess. Her name was Matilda Walsham.
So yeah, maybe you want to keep a close eye on her for a day or two as well, to see if there's any after effects similar to Cassandra and Beatrice and this Vesta.
Okay.
Okay. I would like, if possible, to find out. So maybe this Augustus, he has to have started somewhere, so to pick up the first bunch of supporters, and maybe we could just find out where he started, so that we could just have some kind of insight on how he started, because now everything seems to be very settled and we don't get so much on what this is all about. But maybe when he started, he was not so careful.
It's interesting you mentioned that. You may not have remembered, but one of the things that Basil was reading in the Paridar Times, there was an article by a friend of yours.
Yeah. I remember that, yes.
Okay. Ms. Carrington seemed to have been working on a expose or profile of the Elder Order of the Endless Odyssey.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's a nice way to visit her again, I suppose.
So, as you guys are making your way back, you can have the cab drop you all off at the offices of Shadow Eliminations, or you can have it drop you off separately. Your call. I think the cabbie would take a little bit of convincing normally to go to Dr. Ersprung's neighborhood and drop him off, but I think one stern glance from from Dr. Ersprung, it will silence any or prevent any kind of protestations on that count.
Yeah, I'd like to go straight back.
Okay. So then, it sounds like you guys have a number of things to plan for tomorrow. Ms. Dumer and Miss Master Rathbone, you will be dropped off at the Shadow Illuminations, where I think you live. And Dr. Ersprung, you were dropped off at your casualty. Anything of interest happen tonight, guys, after you're dropped off?
Yeah, so I just wanted to put my plan into action in case Dr. Green is keen on coming to collect this vial. So what I'm planning to do is to get the vial and basically sort of crush it up, smash it, put it in my pocket and do the classic sort of prison walk around the streets with just sort of dripping a bit every so often down the trouser legs to spread it across the town. And I'm going to wake up Cyrus and tell him to clean up all the rubbish in the surgery, so I think bag it all up and get rid of it.
As you return to the surgery, your key's unlocking. It's dark out. The streets are pretty much empty, apart from maybe, a streetwalker walking with a customer. And as you open the door, you can see that Cyrus is there with he's got a little cudgel in his hand, and Igor is standing behind him, sort of at the ready. And he's like, "Oh, Doctor, you gave me such a fright. I did not think you... Oh, look at you. Look how fancy you look. You look like a proper gentleman, sir."
Well, enough of that. That's and you'll be sort of chucking stuff off already, getting rid of that jacket.
Igor who's going over and collecting everything for you.
Why are you so edgy? Why are you...
Well, I didn't expect you back tonight, did I? And someone's fussing around. That's what you got me here for, isn't it?
Oh yes, certainly. But I thought something had happened.
No, just careful ears. That's all.
Oh, that's good to see that you're definitely on the ball. But I've got a very small job for you, if you wouldn't mind.
Of course. He puts down the truncheon.
I just need you to give this place a good clean up, because we may have some visitors tomorrow. So if you can collect up all the rubbish from all the rooms and all the buildings. I don't know. Do we have some sort of do they have like a shared disposal somewhere where they just dump all the rubbish in the city? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are in Paridar there probably are like rubbish removers. You just pay for people to come by. They drive by and then they'll take the shit from you. You pay them a certain amount.
But in this part of town,
they would be less. That's
like
still,
a shared just dumping.
Yeah, as opposed to like an organized a thing that happens regularly. This is sort of like some guy who has a tough mule and a cart who just wanders around, and people pay him to take their shit away to the dump. So
okay. Well, I just asked him to do that, and I say if anyone asks you when I'm not around, you did this as part of your routine at the end of today. And I just give him the old nothing else to be mentioned.
You understand. I understand, Doctor. Can I get your mechanical man to help me? Some of the heavier things.
By all means. Yeah, by all means.
You get the feeling he likes working with Igor, because you've seen him talking to him quite a bit. And Igor, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't actually talk. So, he's having full-on conversations. He talks to him the way that, honestly, I talk to Anna. Someone who lives on their own talks to their pet, or can talk to their pet. That's effectively
he's a very good listener. Igor.
Most definitely. So he gets to work on it right away. It's still not so late that he'll be up, and he has to get up early because there's things he does, but he's eager to get right at it. Come on, Igor, we got work to do. Let's go. Never mind that hat. The doctor can take care of that himself. Come on. There's heavy things to move. So he and Igor sort of get off to get to working. And then you're doing that thing to just dispose of the...
Yeah, just a sort of evening walk or a late evening walk, and just distributing the remains so that hopefully they won't be able to pick up on it. Yeah.
Fortunately, I mean, with the amount of shattered bottles and glass, and stuff on the ground, like there's no way anyone would pick up one specific thing, absent any kind of very powerful divination magics, of which you know very little, unfortunately. Yeah. So, heading back inside, anything else you wish to get done for the day? Or before you...
Not for myself, no.
Okay. Basil and Ms. Dumer, anything else happening before you guys turn in for the evening?
I think I will just rearrange the clue board with all the things. And
carefully tears it out of his notebook, and that new picture of that woman goes up on the board. Okay. And Ms. Dumer?
No. I will retire to a nice bathtub.
Okay. I forgot his name again. What's the name of Gold Egg's manservant? Do you guys remember? I think. Typical Madison, forgetting little people. Like, come on. Is it Soren? Sovin.
Yeah. Sounds, or Sivan. Something like that.
7? Okay.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
He has run a bath for you, and as is your custom too, it's a beautiful, crisp, cool temperature as well. So you set yourself back in and soak for the evening. Did you guys plan on meeting up tomorrow morning to talk about your plans, or did you see that you guys had sort of concocted what you were going to be doing in the next day beforehand?
I think we could meet in the afternoon or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you intending on meeting with Watson Fole and Sir Archibald again?
Yep. Well, it's lunch, isn't it?
Yes.
Today?
Yep. And then he offered to provide an introduction for Mr. Ivywood. What else? Anything you guys wish to do in the morning? Or I guess my question is, like, are you going to open up with all of you guys? Is it regular for you guys to meet and enjoy breakfast together? Or, Dr. Usman, do you have professional tasks that keep you?
Yeah, I mean, I would be fitting this in, where I can, the investigations and stuff. So I'll still be doing sort of patient. I'll be, putting off the less important stuff and doing the important stuff, and just trying to fit things around. So I won't have a lot of free time, not as much as the others anyway.
Okay. So apart from the luncheon, what do you guys wish to be doing today?
So
go on.
I would just visit Annabelle Carrington, and I think that Basil would very carefully read the newspaper, because he has the statistics about the crimes for each area of the town and so on. So this has to be. So let's open work that has to be done.
Sure.
In the morning.
Let's open our scene at the offices of Shadow Illuminations. Then, I'll get you guys down here. So, what? I guess Basil's the first one up, and again, he's making careful notes as he's reading his newspaper. Ms. Dumer, you join him for your breakfast as well. What do you have planned for today?
Well, strictly, I'd be having a second breakfast with, I think, Daphne Lagrange. Mm-hmm. But Daphne doesn't breakfast early.
No, not after a night like that.
So, but that'd be my thing, to keep my contacts in. And then follow on from second breakfast to a lunch with the professional lunch. I'm starting to sound like an aquatic hobbit now.
Okay. And then Dr. Ursprung, what do you wish to achieve today?
At some point today, I'd like to see Rathbone about maybe access to the Innsmouth.
Oh, do you mean Dr. Ravenscroft?
Was it Ravencroft?
Or Raycroft, sorry.
Sorry, Abraham Raycroft, sorry,
yeah.
I would try and get a quick meeting with him or discussion.
Sure. So because you, Sally and Basil are the, I guess, well, first off, are all three of you meeting up with Sir Archibald and Professor Watson Fole for lunch before you meet with the Ivywoods, or is Dr. Ursprung going to kind of do his thing and then you two will...
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have time for that, so I'll leave it to the other guys.
Okay. So why don't we start then with Dr. Ursprung is not... He's skipping his breakfast, so maybe you're arriving at the Raycroft Manor in the nicer part of town. So let's move us over there. All right, so you arrive, and I think that the staff have been chastised. If they ever had any issues with you, they have been chastised to always welcome you, to confirm the open door policy that Dr. Raycroft has with you. So they see you, and there's always a little bit of a start when they first sort of like, Dr. Ursprung?
Yeah, I always try and be as gentle-mannered and, less intimidating or as possible.
And they are, I think, appreciative of that. You are, apparently Dr. Raycroft is, it has a busy day before him, but you can join him in his garden where he is breakfasting. Yeah,
I'm more than happy to do that.
So you head into the what do you call it? This beautiful, like, picture like a kind of a combination of greenhouse and gazebo, where it's like glass that goes up into a dome and then it circles, and there's a bunch of exotic plants that are in there. He's wearing still his dressing gown, and he looks up. His wife seems to have left already. The empty plate suggests that she's already gone on with her day. But Dr. Raycroft, stuffing one last piece of toast in with that mechanical arm of his, looks up. Dr. Adam, what a surprise. Please sit down. Have you breakfast? Have you broken your fast yet?
I don't partake, but thank you for the offer.
Please. Coffee, then tea? Anything to get you going? Although I suppose you're already going.
Yeah, I'm up and running, so that's not necessary. But I do.
You got the most recent shipment, did you?
Oh, the medical supplies?
Yes.
Oh, yes, and very, very thankful of it. The supplies were getting somewhat low, and unfortunately, times as they are, they're always in need.
Of course.
So thank you very much.
Though I hear you have hired on more staff.
Temporary staff, yes.
Indeed.
Yes,
I'm sure there's a story behind that, but I trust that you didn't come all this way just to share with me some idle gossip.
Yes, someone a little bit down on their luck, but maybe another day we can discuss such a matter.
You are, at your heart, one who takes in strays. I think that perhaps is one of the things that makes you such a credit to our profession. And he takes a sip of his coffee. So what are you here for then?
I was wondering if you had access or much influence at Innsmouth, the Institute.
Oh, his face gets a little concerned. He says, "What, Innsmouth? What? You weren't thinking of referring someone to there, are you?"
Oh no, fortunately not. But my friends, the investigating types, they're looking into a sort of colourful character. I don't know if you've heard of him, Augustus Thorngrove.
Thorngrove. The name does not sound familiar to me, but I try to keep myself. One of the benefits of our profession and my station, I can keep myself replete with excuses for why I can't attend such frivolity. Who is this rogue? Someone to be concerned of?
That's where we need to investigate. There's disturbing rumours of. He performs seances, but not you what you would class as a normal one. There's definitely something more mystical or magical or very strange. But the bottom line is some of the people involved seem to be disturbingly infatuated with this guy, and one of them, even there's rumours of, taking it a bit further, that they've been institutionalized. And I was wondering if they may be at Innsmouth. A lady by the name of Vesta King.
Vesta King. The name is not familiar to me, but although again I don't. It's been years since I've had to socialize in that capacity. I do have a former student, Dr. Garfield Wakeman. He is on staff at Innsmouth, and I will be happy to provide an introduction. I trust that Dr. Wakeman, he... a bit unusual of a man, but he holds up his hand. Who among us can that not be said of, hey?
Indeed, I nod.
Well, and he turns and he sort of like gestures to his servant to go and collect the necessary things. How is your nurse? Her name is Betty or Sarah? Can't remember.
Betty.
Betty. I thought so. Okay, I had it right the first time. How is Betty working out?
Very good. She's a very, very hard worker and a very kind heart she has.
Be sure to say hello to me. Her family is, as I said, close friends. Then the writing stuff is all brought over on a little tray. He quickly writes you a letter, seals it, uses his signet ring to seal it off, and hands it to you. That should provide access to whatever you need to deal with. But again, Garfield has always been a bit of an unusual duck. But I expect that you know how to handle such creatures.
I'm sure we'll see eye to eye.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Then he seems to laugh at a sort of an internal joke about that, but he doesn't say why. Okay. Then I cannot convince you to stay. All of this food before me.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be wasted, I'm sure Cyrus wouldn't turn down some of what looks to be...
If you feed the strays, Adam, they will never leave. But please. And he gestures that, for you to take whatever they arrange for you to get some kind of I think it's probably like butcher paper they wrap it in, like that treated paper you can have everything wrapped up in it. But you'll have a nice little breakfast that you'll be able to bring back to Cyrus.
I won't go silly, yeah.
Yeah.
And as I get up to go, and I'll do the classic Columbo. One more thing.
Okay. Of course.
I'll turn back. I've been having a few problems with the plants that I'm trying to grow. What are they? Sort of herbs, and I think Raycroft was the one that gave me the samples, wasn't he?
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
What problem? This actually has his interest in a much more,
Yeah, I mean, I've probably still got some of the sort of petal.
So bring them in
and stuff.
Well, these
white blossoms,
and it's prevented the growth again.
Yes. I've tried to isolate them as best as possible.
And you're certain your man made no errors in the isolation?
We've tried twice, and I overlooked everything on the second batch.
Then that means that either something is contaminating the seeds themselves, and I've grown these before without difficulty. Something is contaminating the seeds themselves, or there is something unnatural that is occurring. Well, fortunately, I have two ways of dealing with this. I have friends at the college still, or the university, who specialize in such unnatural things. I can call in a favor from them and see if they won't assist with this. Perhaps they can provide insight or in some sort of suggestions for how to deal with such things, though I prefer to not mix the arcane with proper science. Alternatively, I can try and find the distilled versions, though that will prove to be more challenging. Skip out the cooking ourselves for the final product.
Well, as you know, I don't want to put you out where I can avoid it.
I am happy to provide whatever assistance I can. This is a very important endeavor that you have undertaken.
Well, whichever you think is the most likely to give success.
Leave it to me. I will see what I can find. I know that these things, and he sort of holds up the petals, are devilishly pernicious, but I've never heard of them interfering with the growth. Harmless.
But you have seen them before.
Oh, indeed. Everyone has. Like you can recall yourself. It's one of the things that you see regularly growing out of other plants. It's use. In fact, again, it's so ubiquitous that the white blossoms of Paridar is a commonly sung sort of like round in big pubs. Drunken, laborers on their breaks will break into a round of the white blossoms of Paridar. So it's everywhere, but we have never heard of it interfering with anything. But he will look into it, though.
I mean, I'll leave the one that I've got with me as a sample in case it's been modified or.
Indeed, and if there is. Gods, if this thing has been changed in some way and now will do that, I couldn't think of what might happen if this got into the wheat or the corn or any of the foodstuffs being grown. I will give it my full attention, Adam, and I will let you know as soon as I have information.
I apologize for laying such dark matters on your door once again, but
not at all. There is nothing that brings me life like a good medical mystery. Let me see what I can find.
With that, I shall leave you to finish your breakfast, and I'll excuse myself.
I hope your man enjoys his. Okay, so you leave without incident. The what do you call it? Servants waiting with your coat for you, and you make your way back into the streets. Basil and Sally, I guess, Basil, were you intending on meeting with Ms. Carrington before the luncheon, or were you going to meet her after meeting with Mr. Ivywood?
I think if I think she's available, then I would meet before.
Okay.
So that we maybe have some information already.
Sure. So why don't we go to... we'll treat that. Where are you thinking of trying to catch up with Ms. Carrington?
I think she might be at the... I think it was called Times, wasn't it?
Yep, the Paridar Times. Okay, so you can once again see... you make your way there. Let me see here. I think we've got... there we go. Something a little less creepy. We're not at the seance anymore. And then I've learned to tell time, guys. I can tell we're at our mid-session right now. Do you want to take our mid-session break now, and then we'll pick up with your meeting with Ms. Carrington?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sounds good. So for those listening at home, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. So back momentarily.
How is this sound now?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Did you swap out mics or?
Yes. So I was for strange reasons I had to use the camera microphone, which is usually quite bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Huh. No, it sounds perfect now. Holy hell! So my folks just sent me a photo of their backyard right now. I shared it on Discord. They have like fucking 4 feet of snow in the backyard. It's incredible. We got snow here again too, but I mean it's like fucking 5 inches of snow maybe.
So yeah, we here is quite a storm, some kind of hurricane.
Oh shit!
And we had a kind of spring tide. So we had an awful lot of water.
Oh, okay.
I'm up a hill, so it's not that dangerous where I was, but the flat I was before, there was actually up to the windows. The water was just...
Holy hell. Germany had a fair amount of flooding in like the fall too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. God dang. That'll be a check in the mail for Winnipeg once all that snow melts too, because if they suddenly get a melt, Winnipeg's got a floodway built around the city that should handle that stuff. But I mean, I remember being there for the flood in 94 or 95, and I remember being like sandbagging down by the river with people to try and save homes because it was gonna take them out. But oh man. All right. So, we're starting with... Oh, James will be back in a second here. We'll be starting now with your meeting with Ms. Carrington. Where do you foresee this... you said at her office, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. So I think she's got a byline. I think she probably is still... this may not be historically accurate to it, but I kind of like the idea of there being a bullpen. Like a bunch of reporters sitting around in kind of a big open area. Lois Lane style. She's at the, at her desk asking how to spell things. How many L's are there in alleged? And she looks, she seems to be keeping a pretty close eye on her surroundings, and she looks up and sees you coming. And her eyebrow arcs up, and she says, Master Rathbone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hello.
You don't come by unless you've got something interesting to tell me. And she takes the pencil from out of her behind her ear, picks up a piece of paper. She says, "Shall this be on the record or off the record?"
It depends on what you want to publish. I could give you an eyewitness description of one of the fiancés of this Augustus Thorngrave. Maybe you want to...
Thorngrove?
Thorngrove, I'm sorry. Thorngrave. I can't read my own handwriting.
That's a common problem for me. The Thorngrove, wow. And she turns her chair to, and then gestures to a chair next to her desk. Sit down.
Yeah.
What did you make of him?
To be honest, I think he's leading some kind of weird and dangerous cult, but that's off the book.
Okay, she's sort of like... So it's going to be our usual conversation then.
Yeah. So if you
she
ask
sort of,
me,
with a gesture, she flips her the like notepad closed and then puts the pencil back behind her ear, puts it down. She's like, "All right then." So share what you've got, and I'll be happy with the understanding. I'll share what I know, with the understanding that the story, when you have it, comes to me first.
Yeah. So it seems to me like he has some kind of spell onto on some of those ladies who fancy him, and he has kind of a coven around him, and those women don't seem to act like normal humans anymore. They I don't know, maybe he controls them in some magical way. But what I want to find out is how he does that and what he is really up to. I don't think his goal is just to make money. That would be
Tell me about what you saw. So she makes it clear, I guess, from her question, she actually hasn't seen one of his seances yet.
Yeah. So, and I will describe in all detail that there are these women and they wear these amulets and they speak in this clicking language that I don't understand, which is weird because I think I will at least recognize many of the even uncommon languages by the sound of them, although I might not speak them.
She's making notes as you talk to, and she says, none of this is not for print, for my own reference.
You know, I mean, you can. I would say I can just give her in description of what this, what any person who was there would have witnessed, and this is for print. She can easily say that someone described this as such and such.
Okay, but not attribute the source.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't be,
So she continues, scribbling down what she's got. What else did you notice? Did you meet him?
No. And I'm.
I mean, no offense here, Master Rathbone, but you don't seem the type that he'd be interested in. You don't have, as it were, the means. Yeah.
Maybe you could sneak in, but I most certainly can't.
I wish. It appears that Mr. Thorngrove has, and many fans with great influence who are at least for now supportive of his elder order. Because I have tried to gain an invitation. It appears that he did not appreciate my first profile or first article. Tell me, have you spoken to anyone? How far are you in your investigation?
Yeah, we are quite at the beginning, and that's actually where I wanted to ask you. Do you know when he started? Where was his first public, or maybe the first more secret performance? So where did he start?
I know his first performance was with the Colston Head family. Are you aware that he has the run of Stoneburn Manor now?
Yes. I heard so, yes.
She's a little wounded that you already knew that, but she's like, all right. Sort of respects your investigative game, as it were. Then, and tell me this: does the name Claire Tabiner mean anything to you?
Right now, wait a minute. No.
Interesting. And she said, kind of, her eyebrow goes up as if she's pleased to have one over you.
Yeah. But let me then ask you, do you know the name of Vesta King?
I do. I've heard. Though the Kings are they are friends of the publisher, and as such I need to be careful. I've heard that Miss King has not been seen for quite some time.
So I heard that she might have been to one of those meetings. And
I've heard the same. Where have you heard she's gone? The rumors are she's pregnant, of course. Scandalous. I don't believe that.
I think she might have taken some kind of mental damage from this, but we don't know.
Mental damage? What do you...
She
sort of leans in. Innsmouth. Is she in Innsmouth?
It might be. I can't confirm. But that was at least rumors I have heard.
She turns and scrambles something down. She says, I may be able to find out. Interesting. Then,
Yeah.
in the
And
interest
what
of
about-
exchange,
Yeah.
Tabiner is a servant of Lady Peyton Hall, another host, or another one who had hosted Thorngrove at one point. I don't know what happened, but there was some incident involving Thorngrove after his appearance at Lady Peyton Hall's residence, and she's gone missing. Or at the least,
Okay.
I cannot track her down. It does not seem that she is any longer in the employ of Ms. Peyton Hall. Apparently it was quite the dust-up, but I can't find anyone to speak to me about what actually happened. I have yet to track down Ms. Tabiner yet, but...
Okay. Yeah. So I will look at this as well. Yeah. But unfortunately, I have not much more to share. Only the following: there have been rumors of some kind of mysterious woman with a cat. Does that ring some bell? He was seen at some of
A
those
woman with a
performances.
cat.
Yes.
What did she look like?
I would describe the woman, but I would not show her some sketches because I would claim that I have not seen her. Just
Okay.
people mentioned that she was.
So she sort of shakes her head. She says, "Oh, that could be almost anyone."
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Anything else then?
No, I'm sorry. If I find out anything more, I will come to you and we'll share information.
Agreed. And she leans in and sort of puts her hand out to shake yours.
Yeah, and so we should. I mean, I shake.
Okay. Shakes hand. Good. Then Master Rathbone, find me more information and bring me a story.
Miss Carrington, I will do my best, as
Okay.
always.
As she winks and then gets back to work on whatever she was working on. Ms. Dumer, you were going to meet with Daphne for... Where is she here?
It was Daphne. It was just a little social thing, just to keep my hand in.
Okay.
So
anything you wish to try and follow up on? So she's happy to see you again. What a night last night, my goodness.
Indeed. You know, I have a certain skepticism for these things, but everyone seemed to take it most seriously.
Oh, indeed. Everyone is I tell you, so Mother is, or my mom is talking of hosting him himself or herself if she can get Papa to agree to pay. Incredible.
I thought I heard your papa sobbing as I turned up.
Of course. What, come, we'll get breakfast. And you're meeting Archie later today, are you not?
I am indeed.
Is it that-
Well, perhaps you can indeed help me with the two Mrs. Bradcaster and Ivywood.
You'll be talking business. It's not of interest to me.
Business, but you know these young ladies, do you not?
Cassandra and Beatrice, indeed, in passing.
So have you heard anything more? I mean, it's a bit mysterious, isn't it?
No, they've thrown themselves in, but those two, I mean, they think it fashionable and they are quite happy to follow things. You know how such things can go. And Mr. Thorngrove is quite fetching, as these types of showmen are prone to be. I think I may permit him to work his arts on me, even. She kind of playfully hits your hand.
Hey, you hussy, Daphne, you hussy.
Indeed. I mean, where's the fun in not?
He is a bit of a pretty land boy, isn't he?
Quite. Though it seems that many vie for his attention, but of course he has not met me yet, has he?
You can dream, Daphne, you can dream.
Is there anything else you wanted to canvas with Daphne, or otherwise it will go on to gossip, and she will share a great deal.
Digress to gossip and fade to black.
Great. Okay, so you guys, so you can, and to sort of reflect her context too, if there's something you want to ask about that you think maybe might have come up in the course of your sort of the idle gossip, you can feel free to sort of flash back to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if not, if nothing else of interest can happen with Sally, we can cut to you guys meeting Basil and Sally. Are you meeting before? Sorry, they're doing snow removal right now, so Anna's giving instructions on how to do it. Do you see you guys meeting up before you meet for lunch, or do you just go for lunch and then proceed from there?
Oh, just proceed directly.
Okay. I think, Basil, you are probably one of the first to arrive, followed shortly by Professor Watson Fole. He arrives looking very much like he looks in the illustration as well. It doesn't have his top hat or his overcoat on. But you can see that there are arcane markings. All of his buttons have sort of arcane symbols sort of carved into them. And his ring, one of his rings has a large stone with markings on it as well. And then he's got a second stone on his other hand, or second ring on his other hand, that has the markings that suggest he's part of some secret society or lodge or something like that as well. And he nods, Master Rathbone, I'm not late, am I? I tried to arrive precisely on time.
You are very much on time.
Ah, great. Wonderful to see you again in the daylight. So, and he sits down. No sign of Archie or Ms. Dumer yet.
They will be here. They will come soon.
Are they arriving together then? He says, and he waves over the one of the waiters and insists on sort of ordering a wine to have with lunch.
Not to start any rumors, won't we?
Such things are beneath me. I only ask as one of Archie's friends. The man's not been the same.
So, as one of Sally's friends, I would encourage that very much.
Good. Forgive me for assuming, but you strike me as one who did serve in the war.
Yes.
I did not. I was in school at the time, and my studies did not permit, but Archie was involved in the conflict, and like so many of you, he did come back a different man than the boy who left. I would see what degree he can, if there is happiness to be found between the two. I would be happy to see it. But speaking of, and Sally, you're making your way in now, and you can see that Professor Watson Fole has already got the seat at the table, and you can see Basil likewise. You arrive just in time for the wine glasses to be put down and the wine to begin to be poured. And the professor stands up again and gives a deep bow. Ms. Dumer, a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine.
You look better in the daylight even than at night, if that is indeed even possible.
The sun does rather catch the glisten on my scales.
Most assuredly. And you can see there's a little bit of it, like with Sally's entrance, you're getting some attention from in the restaurant, but no one is impolite enough to say anything apart from stare. You have a seat, drinks are poured, and then Sir Archibald arrives about half an hour afterwards. So you will have time to sort of direct the conversation if you like. Dr. Ersprung, you said you're not joining them for lunch? Okay. So anything you guys wish to direct the direct conversation towards, or you're just having idle chit-chat?
Yeah. So I was just a little bit. Have we talked about before, Sally, at the breakfast, whether we trust him?
You guys would have had that. We can flash back to you guys at breakfast that morning. So we're meeting them for lunch, are we?
Yeah. So, do you think we can trust him? Then I would show him the picture I drew later.
Honestly, I have a good feeling about him, so
Okay.
let's give it a try.
Yeah. So with this knowledge, I would pull out the picture I drew, and say, well, yesterday my colleague and we saw this woman. She had some kind of cloak spell around her.
Okay, he took a cloaking spell, you say? And
yes, some kind of magical device, whatever.
Yeah.
So her cat has a pendant with a red gem.
A cat. Good Lord. It's... Huh. You don't... Gwendolyn Fallow, do you know her?
No, I never heard the name before.
That's most... Well, you've captured her likeness for certain. Where did you said she was at the party last night?
Yes, but she was hidden behind the shadows, so...
Shadows, you say? Now
yeah,
that...
or some kind of... So, people accuse me of being rather sneaky, but so she's my superior in that business, rather definitely.
Well, that is... I tell you, I don't know much. As, I try just to keep myself free. The college has, as I'm sure is the case in most of the places you find yourselves, we are a gossipy lot. I know that, and he points down at the illustration. She looks rougher for the wear, but Gwendolyn Fallow was on her way to becoming a professor in the conjuring department. This was under Professor Galberry. Mm-hmm. Galberry is one of the senior lecturers in conjuring at the university. Different department, mind. I don't know what the dust-up was, but there was a very sudden... She did something and was quite suddenly invited to leave the college. And I know she made her disappearance. She was from what I understand, a gifted conjurer.
So...
You say she was there, and she was
Yes.
carrying a cat with her.
Yes.
There are many of our... calling who make use of spirits embodied either in or through or as animals or similar things as familiars.
Yes.
Conjurers go in even greater step and can call on beings and things from the nether worlds and other shadow realms. I wish I could remember. I don't know the particulars, but I am on quite good terms with Professor Galberry, and I'm happy to provide an introduction to you. I know he loves... You will find him a very welcoming soul.
Oh, I see. So there's another detail, and I'm not so familiar in the Department of Magic, but it seemed to me like this coven, like there were some names, Cassandra, Beatrice, you might know a few of those women who were like enthralled to Augustus. Like you put a spell on them.
I saw
they
that. They
behaved rather unnaturally.
Now, I trust that you've trusted me with this information. I trust I can rely on your discretion.
Yes, absolutely.
So I may have done something slightly scandalous last eve.
Oh.
I may have attempted to divine whether there was something amiss about the nature of Mr. Thorngrove's charms. I can tell you that there is no... I surreptitiously worked an enchantment that would allow me to observe any magical or arcane, at least, effect of his on his followers. As we were filing out, as I mentioned last eve, he has a great deal of supporters in our college, which is why I could not undertake this investigation myself, but the temptation was too much. I could tell you there is no enchantment on them, at least none that I could divine. They are not the subject of any spell or incantation per se, but there is definitely something magical and unnatural, something beyond the realm of the physical that is happening. There is a magical aura, and it's funny, and he pushes down at the photo of Ms. Fallow. There was an aura of conjuration on those medallions. I could not spend enough time. If I had one, I could divine further information and delve fully into them. But that same aura seemed to extend to them. I could not spend sufficient time. And if I am caught in this, it could very well cost me my position. My head of department was quite adamant that I was not to involve myself in such an investigation, but I think we are all friends here and can be trusted with such secrets, yes?
Yes.
And speaking of secrets, look who's finally dragged himself out. And you can see Archie or Sir Archibald is likewise bringing himself in a, bless you, and he is still, he's looking pretty dapper and whatnot. He has the look of a little bit of like, he may have been on the job, as it were, because he's a little dirty, you know, his little bit of dust and whatnot on his clothes, but he still is in the full uniform and armor. He joins you all and says, "Forgive me for my rudeness and my lateness. There was something I was quite close to concluding, a chase. I see you've ordered wine already. Ms. Dumer," he has a deep bow to you, and Master Basil, Master Rathbone. "The doctor's not joining us today?"
He's busy at work as ever. He's a workaholic, that.
I know. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. Please, what have I missed? And Watson Watson full sort of pushes the picture over to Sir Archibald. He says, "Do you recognize her?" He looks down. "No, who'd I?" And he says, "Do you remember me telling you about the one from Conjuration, the one under Gallberry?" And he looks. "That was her." And he says, that is of interest. I can't speak to you." And he turns back to Sally and Basil. "One of you drew this."
It was me. Yeah.
I cannot.
She was at the party yesterday.
Okay, so you and we don't have to go through it again, but if you repeat everything that you told
Yes.
The professor, he leans in and he says, "Now that is, I did not have the chance," and he kind of gives Morris a bit of a withering look, like, "I can't believe you fucking cast a spell at when you were told you weren't supposed to do that." But he says that is most concerning. Conjuration. There are more than I think some would like to admit. There is at times an infernal source behind such things. There are creatures that walk those shadowed infernal realms that offer much for the idle or the ambitious. And I had my suspicions, though the names, and his yellowed eyes are kind of narrowed. The words they spoke, though, it did not speak to me of diabolic or infernal origin.
Yeah, I would agree with him, but in infernal.
Okay, so you're sort of nodding your head, and he says, so he points at things. I see you are learned in a great many things, Master Rathbone.
I think you have to know your enemy to recognize him.
Most definitely. What you described, it does speak to, there are practitioners of different arts who work their ways through their magics with the assistance of others as well, too. Those who would offer up their very souls in some cases for power. But why would she be lurking in the back with Thorngrove in the fore?
Maybe she can't be seen because it would be a scandal if she would do it in public.
Morris sort of nods his head. He says, I'm certain anyone in the college, once her name came about, would certainly at the least recognize the name. It was not that long ago that this, within the past year, that this scandal erupted.
I have another thing. So Dr. Ursprung, he noticed that it seemed this magic seemed to have consumed the flowers. With all these white flowers, do you know any connection there, or do you see anything about that?
There's a knowing look that goes back and forth between Morris and Sir Archibald, and they sort of they were you noticed that as well, says Sir Archibald. That is curious. It is rare that things seem to focus directly on that. I cannot tell you why, but one of the effects we have seen of the white blossoms, when magics are used, this is Morris, Professor Watson Fole speaking, when you use magics that cloak or hide one from divination or detection, it seems to have a particularly deleterious effect on the blossoms, causing them to wither and die, in some cases almost as if a year passed and they suddenly find themselves falling in the late weeks of autumn.
But just these flowers, nothing else? I was concerned that it drained other things.
Just those blossoms. It is a curious effect. There are theories, of course, on it, but, and he looks over at Sir Archibald, I suspect the Order has their own theories on it, but curious, don't you think? The blossoms are found everywhere, but when one tries to use magic or the arcane to hide, these things suddenly wither and die. Makes one wonder why they're there in the first place. Okay? I wonder, I did not detect any sort of divination aspect to the magic or abjuration. I wonder why it had that effect on those flowers then. I was a fool enough to walk away from them. Did Dr. Ursprung take a sample?
I don't believe so.
So yeah, I don't really know because I wasn't there at that moment.
If he did, and if he wants, and there's a twinkle in Watson Fole's eyes, a second opinion on such things, I'll be happy to make use of my talents in what ways I can to indirectly assist in this investigation.
Belly, would you want to talk about those women and the effect on them maybe as well?
Oh, most assuredly. Unfortunately, my desires conflict with my professional obligations, and I have spoken to both Mr. Brancaster and Mr. Ivywood, and Mr. Ivywood is agreeable to meet with you through my introduction. I must, of course, keep myself free of this investigation, but if there is a way that I can indirectly assist in this, in what is going on with them, I'm happy to provide whatever introductions or assistance I can, whether through my magics or through my station. And Sir Archibald sort of nods in agreement. We, the Order, have no interest in this as of yet, but I can tell you that if there is a reason for the Order to be involved, I will be happy to bring that matter to my superiors, and perhaps we can offer more direct assistance in such things. Though, of course, you've proven yourself, and he sort of smiles at Ms. Dumer, quite capable in such things before. You handled that Margoyle with a great deal of ease, madam.
It was an experience.
Forgive me, I took the liberty of ordering for all of us. And food comes for you guys. And is there anything else you guys want to specifically deal with them? Or ask of them?
I think Basil told about everything he wanted to talk about, but I don't know about Sally. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So it otherwise turns to, pleasant conversation and time for you guys to think about what you wish to do before meeting with Mr. Ivywood. Dr. Ersprung, we can cut to you. What were you intending on doing after leaving Dr. Ravenscroft, Dr. Raycroft's residence?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to go about his normal daily routines, and then try and visit Innsmouth of an evening. When he's basically shut shop for the day.
Sure. With
regards to patients and things.
Okay.
Because I assume they're sort of 24 hours, but visiting just after closing, sort of thing.
Okay. So your day is mostly uneventful. Cyrus arranges for all the detritus and whatnot to be removed from the office, and arranges for the alleyways to be cleared out as well. Easier to have delivery next time. But then we cut to you, the coach riding up with you. Are you bringing Igor with you, or just yourself?
I'd probably go on my own, to be honest, because I think that would cause more issues. Sure.
So that you open up before, and it is, I don't have a placeholder for it yet, I don't think, but I will definitely find something between now and next session. Because I think Innsmouth Sanitarium definitely deserves its own spot. Let's see if I got anything here. No.
Monastery in Discord weren't far away from.
Yeah, really. That monastery is a fucking great illustration. Okay, let's see here. Well, I have something that probably would just speak to the. Let's do this here. There we go. Duplicate. Speaks to the streets of Paridar in general. Oh, you know what? I don't think we've used this one yet, so. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, let me bring you over here. Just go. All right. we go. And I will remember to rename the thing. I think I may have spelled sanitarium wrong, but there we go. So this is sort of the big edifice, a quasi-church type residence with a massive courtyard before it. Let's see here. There we go. That's about right. All right. And that's where it drops you off. You can almost see the carriage right there. Look at that.
Yep.
What, and you've got the name of Dr. Garfield Wakeman as the one to see. So you come up, and much as this place, it looks like it may have been a church or some kind of like, monastery or nunnery at some point. It clearly has been turned over to a different purpose, but it has those big, imposing, 12-foot heavy doors to sort of lead in. The door slides open. Admitting or visiting? Admittance around the corner.
I'm here to see a Dr. Garfield Wakeman.
Wait here. Closes it. There's a bit of a wait. And then after a short while, it opens up. And what you can see inside is sort of the receiving area. And stepping in here, I'm not sure if Dr. Earthsprung has been to the Paridar jail yet, which we'll have to give a name to. But this really has the look of more of a jail than it does a sanitarium. If you picture that, kind of, almost medieval, nightmarish place that was operated in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula film, that's sort of what you can picture this place being like. This is a very, gothic version of a sanitarium. He leads you in, and you go through two sort of security gates to go deeper into this, and you find that there are some of the larger, which likely were cells for worship before, or cells for the monks to be living in, have been changed over into offices. And in one of these places, with a big, complete with a stained glass window that is still devoted to the heavenly host, you find the office of Dr. Wakeman. And there's a knock at the door, and you hear from within, yes. And the orderly, who is, the orderly I think is a half-orc. It's a pretty burly guy. Knocks and says, someone to see you, Doctor. And he looks at you, Dr. Earthsprung. And you hear a, what? I don't know of any doctor. And there's some talking from within, and then the door to the cell is opened up. And you see a very, very tall and willoughby-looking man with mustache and fairly long and pretty wild hair, but with a doctor's coat on. He's quite tall to the point where he's actually about your height, but he probably weighs about maybe half of your actual body weight. And there's a bit of a gah, as he staggers back, looks down and looks up. I'm sorry, Doctor
Adam Earthsprung, and I'll put my hand forward. My colleague, Dr. Abraham Raycroft, sent me.
His eyes sort of light up at that. Indeed. And if you hold out the letter of introduction, he sort of takes it, opens it up. How is old Raycroft doing anyway?
He's very well. He's very busy, but he loves his work.
That's what I remember. Tell me, is he still... He puts his arm behind his back.
In regards to his left arm and his mechanical arm, or?
He's got a mechanical arm now. Huh.
Ah, yes.
Well, that's most interesting. Oh, come in. And he turns to the orderly, and there's a much more dismissive tone he takes with him. That will be all. And then turns to you and, come in. So what does... it doesn't say in his letter. What is it that... it says I'm to help you with whatever I can, and what Dr. Raycroft says, I suppose, goes. He sits down. What can I assist you with? You're not looking for a position here, are you?
Oh no, not at the moment. No, I'm busy enough with my own surgery. But I was interested in knowing if there was someone unfortunate enough to be staying at this establishment by the name of Vesta King.
Would you give us a diplomacy check, please? You got anything that can sub in, that allows you to sub in, you can use a different role?
I mean, I've got society, but that's more knowing society rather than...
Yeah, that's more having a knowledge of stuff. So diplomacy is, if you want to be more forceful with it, you could use intimidation instead.
I'll try the diplomacy first, I think.
Okay. Oh, and you guys all have another point of another hero point as well.
Yeah, I'm going to spend that
right away. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So he looks kind of, he squirms in his seat a bit. He says, knowing one of the aspects of our practice is a degree of discretion, you see. The having a stay in Innsmouth carries a certain stigma with it, you understand. And but given Dr. Raycroft's mentorship in past and as a professional courtesy, I can confirm that we have Miss King here. Were you friends with her?
No, I'm looking into a slightly disturbing incident in the city, and she may have some information. I don't know how.
So he kind of leans in, and he's got that kind of like scarecrow look to him, where he just like leans way over. It almost seems like he is too big for the desk that he's using, but it's only subtly, so it's a little unnerving. He leans in, his lean, narrow face in. He's looking over his glasses now at you. Do you know why? I've been one of her treating physicians, and I've heard the things she spoke of. She's mad. She's quite mad.
I'd be very interested to know what she talks of.
She claims that something tried to... She claimed that she shared her mind, or that she was, or that she is something from the outer spheres. She claims to have walked on other worlds. She claims to have crushed civilizations beneath her wake. She's the typical.
That does sound very far-fetched, I must admit.
Indeed. A teenage woman, or sort of a young woman at the least, claiming... She natters on in a thick tongue, and it's most curious that the language seems to be one she has constructed herself, because there are consistencies. One of my colleagues thought that there may be more to this, but no, she...
Is she speaking in clicks by any chance?
Is this a prank, Doctor? Is this some elaborate ruse by Dr. Raycroft? Perhaps one of my colleagues. Are you an orderly who's been dressed up?
No, I'm no such thing. I have great interest in what you have to say and what Vesta King has to say.
I should not be... She can get quite agitated, you see. And he sort of gestures up and down. Your appearance may be upsetting for her.
I understand.
But Dr. Raycroft, I wish you to convey to him that I offered you all assistance that I could, so we can arrange for an introduction. She is, I believe, in one of her cells, or she is in her cell as of...
Would it be possible that I attended tomorrow with someone maybe more suitable to speak to her?
Who did you have in mind?
Just one of my friends that are also investigating these matters.
Okay. I'm just going to make a roll for him to see if he's heard of Shadow Illuminations. He has not, so he doesn't know who you're talking about. He kind of thinks about it. I can. Yes, I think we can arrange that. We can have it. There is a small garden out back. She seems most calm there when she can see the nights. Though it's curious, it seems she is most comfortable in the evening.
Well, again, we can. I don't want to, make matters worse. That's the least thing that I would like to do. She's obviously in a disturbed state of mind already, so I
Most
don't want
definitely.
to make it worse.
Well, we certainly can arrange that for you tomorrow evening. Then, do you have perhaps 8 o'clock then?
If that's suitable for you, and we'd be able to visit at that time.
I should be finishing my rounds at that point. I'll be happy to bring you and your colleagues, or you and your friend, to see her. Is there? You don't make anything of this, though, do you? Surely it's just she was exposed to some foolish magic gone awry, and it left her damaged.
Well, I do think magic is involved, but I did want to ask, how did she come to find herself here? Was she handed to you by a worried relative? Or?
Stands up and again, he's like a fucking beanpole. Stands up and makes his way over. His clothes hang off of him almost like on a wooden hanger. Gets over and he looks in his notes or the records, pulls hers out, puts it down. It seems that it was her father. Her father was the one who arranged for her care at Innsmouth.
And did she have any belongings with her? Any sort of jewelry or?
We require them to surrender
items?
all such things before. The unfortunate souls who find themselves at Innsmouth are often more of a danger to themselves than others, but to avoid any or either of those being injured, we ensure that they have nothing with them. But no. She did speak quite a bit, though. But
well, again, I can only thank you for being so helpful in these matters, and
please tell Dr. Raycroft that I am happy to help him at any point. Raycroft's not still on the board at the university, is he? As far as you know, he probably is, yeah.
I believe he is. He doesn't speak much of it, but...
Interesting. Yeah. If you could remind him as well, too, that research is, of course, one of my interests, and remains such. I'd be happy to supply him copies of papers if he would be interested.
Yeah, I will relay the message, certainly.
Thank you. So, this is not the first time I think you've come across when you have had need to call on Raycroft's name. It seems that he is quite the mover and shaker in the medical world, which helps explain why you regularly get those deliveries of medical supplies, perhaps. Anything else that you wish to do at Innsmouth before you leave?
No, I think I'll leave it to tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll just say I'll go back and I'll send a message. I'll get Cyrus to deliver a message to Raycroft to make sure I don't forget.
Okay.
And pass on his regards and about the research and that. Just so I've done what I said I would.
Okay. Awesome. So then we can cut, I think, to Ms. Dumer and Master Rathbone. You guys are arriving at Mr. Ivywood's and his. Hold on here. Let's see. So it'll be Casper Ivywood is the name of her father. He is a fairly heavy set man. Well, I guess first off, you guys can have an opportunity to sort of strategize before. After, you guys finish a lunch, you guys will be in the carriage traveling from your restaurant over to the Ivywood house. Anything you guys wish to discuss, or any strategy you want to employ when you're dealing with Mr. Ivywood?
I think we should just be fairly fishing to see his concerns and then how we can assist him in that.
Okay.
I think we should just appear as open and supportive, because that's probably what he's needing at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So his daughter is still one of those women who is actively working for
Beatrice Ivywood. Yep. One of the ones that you saw. She was not. Neither Cassandra nor Beatrice were the ones who spoke in that weird language.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should. I mean, do you want me to be honest? So my suspicion is that these women get possessed in some way by some being, and that we have to be rather quick to rescue those.
Maybe some euphemisms would help.
Yes. I trust that you are able to express yourself in a very
dramatic way.
Yeah.
It's quite my forte.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you give us a diplomacy check, Ms. Dumer?
This is where we go for the luck points again.
Yeah.
Make one statement like that, and it's luck point central.
Come on, big money. There you go. Nice. So I think we cut from the scene of you traveling in this to this man. So he looks, he's a heavy-set man, like quite heavy. He has a beard that grows up into his fairly short-cropped hair. He's dressed, I wouldn't say well-dressed necessarily. Like, he's not stylish. He's just well off and has a lot of nice clothing that are picked out for him by likely someone else. He's quite tall as well. He's probably about 6'2", 6'3". So he's an imposing presence, but this man is sort of hunched over with, his hands taking Sally's hands, and he's sobbing because it's exactly as you say. His suspicions are that his bee has been taken over, that this foul rogue has worked some kind of spell, and the damned college won't do a thing about it. That none of his friends who are part of the College of Magics at Caldingwood University, none of them will help him. They won't listen to him, and he's certain that is what's happened. So he's just, a complete putty in your hands, Ms. Dumer. You can feel free to ask anything you like of him. He will be happy to share whatever he can.
Right. So tell us more about your young Beatrice, though. Why would she get into mix in such circles?
I don't know. Sweet bee. She follows the trends. She's, as is most young women, happy to follow the fashions, though I thought she had better sense than to follow such things.
And you still see her?
No, she has left. She's gone out to that rogue's Stoneburn Manor. She lives with him, with all these other women, I hear.
Scandalous, one might say.
He's a mountain of a man, weeping and sort of trembling next to you as well, too. You can feel free to have canvas other things as well.
So I give him a little lace hanky to...
So he
try his
dots is reddened, his face, his eyes, his cheeks are all red.
Have you tried getting to see her? Have you gone there yourself?
I have. I and Mrs. Ivywood have tried. They refused entrance. More of these women dressed in black as if they were attending a funeral, coming and telling us to go. And then, this one with a cat, she came and told us. And that's when I knew it was sorcery, because the fear she struck in my heart. I swear I've not felt such a thing since the charge at Covington Hill. He's referring to, he's a veteran as well. He was, of course, officer class, so he was happily in the distance when people were making the charge at Covington Hill, but clearly it was upsetting for him. So yeah, they talk about this. Basil, you sort of have that, you still have that illustration of who you saw in your book or with you, but by no means do you have to. This guy's oblivious to your presence, to be honest, unless you specifically ask him questions.
No, I would just hand Sally the picture and she can use it or not, I mean, if she wants to.
So you feel like there's a soft little hand on your side, Sally, and you see Basil has the illustration kind of turned over.
Mm-hmm. So, dear colleague, can you suggest anything?
I would just Mr. Ivywood, we have this picture, the woman with the cat. Did she look a little bit like this?
That's her. Where did you see her? Have you been there? Is my bee there? Is she okay?
I don't really know, but my character would know if he has seen her.
Yes.
So,
Beatrice
yes.
Ivywood was one of the ones at the seance.
Yes. We saw her yesterday in the evening at one of those meetings.
His attention is now fully on you. How was she?
She seemed to be okay. She did not say anything or do anything which gave a different impression. And I look a little bit looking for help at Sally because I feel uncomfortable. I want to say that I think she's in great danger, but so Sally will Miss Dumaire will.
So he sort of
find better words,
gets himself up, and again, he's an imposing person when he's actually collected. He gets himself up and he says, "I've read your illuminators in the papers, and Professor Watson Fole speaks very highly of you. And of course, your reputation precedes you, Ms. Dumaire." And he kind of holds your hands in his, and your hands are as child's hands in this giant, meaty, kind of ham hock. And he says, "Then I am happy to pay in excess of your fee. Please find what happened to my bee and bring her back to me and Mrs. Ivywood."
Certainly we will look into this. It seems a terrible situation for such a young lady of high standing to be put in such a position and by such nefarious means. It's completely unacceptable. We'll gladly take this case on.
Okay. So you then thank you, Mrs. Ivywood. I'm sorry she could not be here. Mrs. Ivywood will be very grateful to hear that you are taking our case. And he can't really help himself, and he gives you a great big hug, Miss Dumaire, and it's like being embraced by a polar bear. Like, he's so much bigger than you. And then he takes and eagerly shakes your hand, Basil, and because of the height disparity too, he's just sort of like jarring your arm. And he says, "Then I will show, please, anything you need, let me know, and any assistance I can offer. Thank you." And as you guys are leaving, Basil, you actually notice something. You notice that in this very nice, I'm not going to describe like every one of these, but these rich people have their like studies are all very much appointed the same way. It's difficult to tell one from the other. They've got some stuff that, a bunch of old books, a bunch of like law things. There's the, things that are seen as the Paridar classics. And then there's going to be knickknacks that are taken from elsewhere in the world that they're displaying that their ancestors took or stole or whatever. What you can see is that there are, of course, just like these ones, there's entrances that lead to further back in the room. And as you're getting up to leave, over the sound of his blubbering, you can hear the sound of a creak. You notice at the back, the door that would lead further in seems to have been left, like further into their houses. These are built in such a way so that they can come and go from their sort of the private portions of the house without having to walk through the common areas where they might run into other people and whatnot. The door to that seems to have been left open ajar. The creak seems to be the floor from on there. And you very briefly get this, you see a silhouette sort of move through the crook of the open door. Someone, you think, has been listening at the door.
Yes.
And you see them go in. What do you guys do? So, Basil, if nothing else, you have nothing else of Mr. Ivywood, then he or his servants will see you out.
Yeah. Could we just have a short talk maybe to her maiden? Sometimes these young women, they.
Of course.
Who tell.
I will see. If you could wait here, I will have her brought in. And he gets up, and the floor creaks quite loudly underneath his weight as he makes his way out. He leaves you and sends the servant off to go and collect the maid for it, leaving the two of you alone in the study.
Yeah. I think there was someone listening.
Do you want to go and search while I keep him busy?
Yeah, we can do it this way. Okay, I will try to.
I don't think I can
off.
nip out because he'll notice my absence given his mood.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I can just go. I think this was the commoner's quarters or something, so I can maybe sneak in there or so. If I see anyone, I mean, it's a little bit.
So why don't you do this? Let's see. Here's what we'll do. It's going to be a countdown because it'll be enough time for you to get to where you need to go and get back before this other maid arrives. So we're going to say that it'll be let's say 4 successes before 3 failures. So 3 failures, that means the maid has arrived on time. And Ms. Dumer, to get you involved with this as well too, is if there are failures, you can try and push the failures off by taking steps yourself. So this is the like proverbial like in the hallway, like, oh, tell me about this thing on the wall here. What is this thing here? To try and stall them from going in and realizing that Basil is gone. So first then, Basil, let's set the difficulty here. I think the first one is going to be a stealth check to get you into sort of those hidden quarters. And let's see here.
Okay.
So I think this will be a DC of 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would just spend one of my hero points to
Please
roll
do
that.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. So, critical failure means 2 failures get contributed to this. So, Basil, you step out, and I think you can hear Sally as Basil disappears into the hallway, and he's like, okay, and starts sneaking his way down. You can hear from the hallway someone saying, yes, so Master Ivywood, I'll be there in just a moment. And you can hear the sounds of footsteps coming towards, someone's about to walk in, to this thing here. So, Sally, do you wish to do anything to try and stall?
So I will go to the door and just stick my head around it and just say, do you mind just leaving me some space at the moment? I'm feeling quite a turn I've been out of water for so long, and I don't want anyone to see me.
Okay.
Some diplomacy?
Actually, that sounds like you are being deceptive.
Oh.
Because that is so. But this will only be, I think, a DC of 16. 1/6. Nice. So I think the head servant who's got the what do you call it, the maid coming down the stairs towards, just like he looks up and down and is not quite sure how to take this. Like, yes, by all means, of course. We'll just give you a moment for it too. So now you're down to only one failure.
Can you maybe get me some salty water again?
Yes, please. I feel faint. Oh. So you stalled one. You're down to only one failure right now out of 3. So Basil, we'll cut back to you. What do you wish to try next here?
Yeah, I think I would just try with perception. Maybe some door is still a little bit open where I should go now.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so that one, likewise, we'll set that at an 18.
Okay, so let's see.
And this is part of your investigation, I think, technically, so you will get the +1 on top of whatever you roll.
Yeah,
look at that. Okay, so you're looking around, and then you're sort of both sort of flick in one direction, and you can hear a creak from about a floor up.
Yeah.
What would you like to do? That's one success so far.
Yeah, I think I will now sneak just up the staircase or something like that.
Let's try and be less conspicuous here.
Yes.
And Sally, what you could do as well, if there is something that you feel you could do to help Basil, you could try to aid another. It's a DC 20 you roll against, and if you're successful, he gets +1. Oh, I think it's a DC 10. You get +1 to the roll if you're successful, +2 to the roll if you roll 20. Let's double check that. I'm not sure if there is anything, but I mean, I'm happy to have it be as part of a flashback that you talked about this possibility of Basil skulking around here.
Oof.
If you can't think about it, that's okay. Or we could take another pass for Basil and then have you make a contribute in the next pass.
Oh, I think I'm sure I could have advised him something of, having visited these sort of houses before.
Yeah.
Of how they're laid out.
Okay, why don't you give us a society check then? I think that's probably a society. We'll set a guy.
Well, maybe
spend a hero point.
A hero point is an unusual thing to spend a hero point on, but there you go.
Sorry, I'm just finding. Okay. Nice. Okay, so +1 to your roll. So you got a total of +2 to your stealth check now, Basil.
Okay. Yeah, that worked.
There you go. All right, so Basil, 2 successes so far. You clamber up the stairs, and you get yourself onto the second floor. And this is it's a spacious and wealthy home. You hear the sound of one servant sort of rushing down the hall, carrying something, not running, but like walking briskly. We duck behind this column that has a big, like a urn or something on it. The servant goes rushing by. You poke out the other side of the column and decide to continue on. What are you thinking next?
Just to mix a bit. So I'm trained in thievery. So if I see that there is maybe, I don't know, some curtain to hide behind or so I could just switch. Or something like that.
Sure. So why don't you give us a thievery check? Let's see if you can figure. Look at that. Yowza. That's near crit. So you're sitting on 3 successes right now. Sally, you can hear the knock at the door. Are you okay in there?
Oh, yes. Did you get that salt water?
I do. Should I bring it in, or?
Oh, if you could just slip it around. As I say, I'm in a terrible state.
Okay. This time, I think, why don't you give us a diplomacy check?
Yep.
This one will contribute to the actual success, we'll say. There you go. All right. So they place it down, and you can see, like, your character doesn't see this, but the film version of ours would be like the head servant and the maid are sort of look at each other, and they're both like, I don't know, put it down and sort of like step away from the door. Basil, you hear, as you're sort of, sneaking your way around in this and trying to listen, you hear the sound of a door close. Oh, and it locks.
Yeah, I think now there's a lock to pick.
Yeah.
I mean...
So, and I'll let you use the success of that thievery to get here. So you make your way over, and just judging on what Sally said before, this is likely the main bedroom, or perhaps the sitting room of the lady of the house.
So I would just then kindly use Mrs. Ivywood, I suppose. Basil Rathbone. I'm one of the investigators.
Okay. So are you knocking on the door?
Yeah, I think I would then.
Okay. So you knock on the door and you say, "What are you doing up here? You should not be up here."
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it is. I think we could talk without your husband. He seems to be in a very agitated state of mind, and sometimes the mother has more clear words about the situation of her daughter.
There's a sigh from inside, and she walks over and she says, "Very well," unlocks the door, and she opens the door, and she is dressed in a it's the kind of dress you would wear around the house, but it is black. Not the full, up to the neck kind of things, but it's the kind of thing that someone would wear if they were in mourning. Parents often, at the death of a child, will sometimes adopt that stuff. So she may be putting on she may be feeling that she's actually lost the child as opposed to whatever. Mm-hmm. So she opens the door and gestures. She is she's around like in her probably late 40s, early 50s, much like her husband. And it's a daintily appointed sitting room. A lot of stuff crammed into a small area. There's a screen that's set up for a dressing area. There's a lovely, big, 3 mirrored place to sort of for her to get herself ready. And she says, "It's quite inappropriate for you to be in here," but she gestures for you to come inside.
Yes. So I'm sorry again, but I think you might have information that probably is helpful.
And what makes you think that? You see, she's got her hand placed behind her, at her side. If she's got something in her hand, she's making a point of hiding it from you. As you walk in, she closes the door and locks it.
So you don't have. So I'm just. Are you also a member of the Elder Order of the Endless Odyssey, madam?
She looks at you, and there is a look of sort of maybe anger, maybe, I don't know, there's a look of cruelty, I think is probably a better look. And she moves her hand to the side, and you can see that in her hand there is a softly glowing red stone.
Yeah.
And she says, "Clever little rat, aren't you?"
Yes.
And the voice is not the one you heard a moment ago. Her eyes narrow, and there is a flare of reddish energy that plays through them. And she says, "It's a good thing, then, we know how to trap rats." And she takes a step forward, and we'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time. So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for Chapter 2 of the Endless Odyssey in the Spires of Paridar setting. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and we'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. In addition, there is a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server where all of us are active, and we have channels there dedicated to this game, this campaign, and every other campaign we run on the channel, as well as a bunch of other great channels, including... we have a newly created DMGM discussion and advice channel that's actually seen quite a bit of activity the last day, and a lot of really good advice for new DMs. So if you're looking for other people to bounce ideas off of, you are more than welcome to join us over there. Plus, great advice on virtual tabletops. It's a terrific group of people, and you are more than welcome to join us over there. Speaking of a terrific group of people, I will say a huge thank you to our stalwart illuminators, James, Ingolf, and Darren. Thank you so much for joining me back in the streets of Paridar. I am so sorry for what's going to happen to Basil in 2 weeks' time. So, for those listening at home, we will be back. Oh, you can also find me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings, and you can find me on by email. My email address is dungeonmusings@gmail.com. Until next time, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off of the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that our heroes in the streets of Paridar are getting themselves up to. And until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.